Hey guys, so I wanted to talk today about time because for a long time in my life, I felt like I didn't have any of it. There were things that I wished that I had time for, but I just would say to myself or others that I just don't have time. I don't have time for that in my life right now. I just don't have time. Where time is really a trade off, right? Like whatever you're saying you don't have time for, that you wish you had time for it, you have time for it, no question. You just choose other things. And that's okay, but it's really important to call it like it is, right? So, like, if you don't have time for certain things, then, like, a lot of times, like, what are we doing instead? Like, how much TV do you watch per week? How much do you spend on social media per week? How much do you spend on just like things that don't really matter per week, right? Like you have time, but sometimes we choose to do other things. Sometimes we would rather sleep, right? That's true. Maybe you wish you had time to read, but then at every day at 4:30 or 5 or 5:30, whatever time you want to pick, you're just choosing to sleep instead of read. That's fine. There's a prioritization with your day, with your life, but it's important to understand to call it like it is as opposed to like just saying to yourself that you don't have time, right? Like I think that's very important that you assess like what you want to have time for your in your life for, what you want to have time in your life for. And then you make sure that like you're cutting yourself out to be the person who's holding to that schedule. A lot of times when we don't have time, really all that happens is the week runs us. So we don't sit down, plan our week, plan out exactly when we're going to do things, including hobbies, including like taking time for ourselves, whatever it is. And like then as a result of not doing that, the week just runs us. So if you're thinking like, I don't have time to work out, then really all you're saying to yourself is that at 5 o'clock, I just prefer to sleep rather than work out. That's it, right? So I would take a look at like, what do you wish you had time for? And like, where in your life or in your week can you actually be fitting that and taking away from something else that you don't want to have time for anyway, but that it seems to be taking up your time? If you're looking at your week in a more proactive way, if you're planning out things ahead of time, then you can have time for so much more. But it starts with calling it like it is, which is prioritization. You have time for it, you're just not making time for it. And when you understand that, then you can act on that and you can have a much better use of your time. I wanted to share that with you guys because recently I felt to myself, man, I don't have time for this hobby, or I don't have time for that hobby. And then I carved out time for it, and all of a sudden I had time for both of those things, the two hobbies in question. And so it was all about just taking the time out to realize, one, I definitely have time. I'm just not making it a priority. That's my choice. Two, how do I do that at the beginning of the week? And it really is truly that simple. It's just a trade-off, right? So like make the priorities in your life for the things that you want to be priorities, and then that way you have time for what you're looking to do. Hopefully those two things, the mentality and then how to go about that, really helps thinking about it and acting on it very differently, because I truly believe that you can have time for what you want to have, what you want to do, even if you're a very busy person. So would love your guys' feedback. Feel free to leave anything in the comments section. Everybody have an awesome week.